I haven't done a video for a while, so I thought now that I've got the fish room about where it's going to be, I'd make a quick run through. Start here on this end. Still have my tank of shell dwellers. I've got some transcriptus and plecos and still a lot of multis in this tank. Below that, in a 20 long, I've got what are supposed to be some super red bristlenose and some grow out baby bronze corridors. It's like everybody's hiding right now. There's a bunch of fish in here. Over to this side, top tank's around a 90 gallon, 75 to 90 gallon acrylic tank. It's got my goldfish in it right now. For some reason, about the way the water flows, the fish tend to congregate back in the corner back there. Underneath that is a three-way divided tank. On the right side, I've got a pair of black moors. Actually have a few little babies from them from this spring. Caught them late in spawn and hand spawned a few eggs out and got 5 or 6 babies growing. Next to that, I've got a tank full of Java moss and some albino cories that I'm trying to get to spawn, although they're not cooperating at the time. Next to that, I've got some cories in a tank with some long fin bristlenose and some dwarf Mexican crawdads. So far these guys haven't been wanting to spawn either, but they're old, or they could be just in a lull. Next to that, I've got my wide 125's got a variety of South and Central American cichlids and some pretty cool tiger silver dollars. There's a biker in here and an eel and some plecos, and it's quite a variety. A young flower horn I picked up at a local pet store when he was about an inch long, starting to color up and get a little head growth. Still got a few geophagus in here. Still got a couple of the electric blue acaras, although I think I'm down to just 1 or 2. This really cool piebald red devil. Like the way his color turned out. On the other side, I've got a 135 acrylic that houses some silver dollars and my red pike cichlids who are hanging out in their logs. Not interested in filming today. On this end, I've got about a 60 gallon acrylic tank, kind of a hexagon shape. The main fish in the tank's my Oaxaca puffer. Shares the tank with some plecos and some mollies. Down in the bottom 55, I've got a few of my leftover red devil babies that I didn't catch when I did my clean out, and still got a young pair of red tiger motags. And there's a couple of other young red tigers in there with them. I really like the color the females get. I think she's getting ready to spawn again. And directly behind me I've got it's around 120 gallon cube with a red devil that I raised and my albino giant gourami. Underneath that's a tank of just feeder crawdads, and underneath that's a mossy tank full of the orange dwarf Mexican crawdads and a whole bunch of cherry shrimp that I've gotten going down there with them. I wasn't sure if the cherry shrimp would survive with them, and they're actually being more prolific than the crawdads are. And to the right of that I've got a 120 gallon acrylics. Got my homegrown second generation red spot Severums and some silver dollars, and hiding in his normal spot. He just likes to hang back there as a red-tailed giant gourami. It's starting to get some size. Next to them in the 60 cube I've got some South American puffers and some silver dollars and the main fish, my Tysook flowerhorn, who really has blossomed. It's probably inch for inch one of the best flowerhorns I've ever raised. I got him when he was real small and he just keeps getting better. Next to them we've got a 30 breeder that right now just houses some emerald green corridors and a few albino bristlenose. Underneath that's a 20 long that's going to be a fry tank. The tank on top is going to be a fry tank too. I ran out of fry tanks, and so I had to go back and regroup and buy another set. This is like a 110 acrylic tank that I picked up. Houses my quote-unquote African cichlids and my clown loaches. I said spawn again on the red tiger motag young fish because back here I've got a tank that they're about ready to be moved into a bigger tank of a spawn from that pair, baby red tiger motags. Up on top of this stand I've got it's a 30 breeder and then a 20-something gallon acrylic tank that is basically housing my current molly project. Just crossbreeding different types of self-fin mollies to see what kind of offspring they'll produce for me. I like big, fat, healthy mollies. Next to them I've got a 30 breeder that houses another Tysook flowerhorn and another piebald red devil and a group of about 8 of these gold F1 gold acaras. They do a pretty good job of hiding in all the plants and rocks. I think I have a pair about ready to spawn back there. This time I'm going to save some fry. This tank houses my pair of leucistic giant gouramis, Big Boy and his lady friend. And they also share the tank with a wild red devil Midas that came from Nicaragua and some Honduras red points that I've never been quite able to get all of them out of the tank. Going to work on that this spring. And below that, the one truly stacked tank setup, I've got a tank full of endlers and shrimp and some wild live bears. Lots of plants. And a little 5.5 that's got endlers and some quarries and maybe some plecos mixed in it. And then a 10-gallon that's got some 3/4 black guppies, probably some dwarf crawdads mixed in there too, along with some quarries. Next to that, I've got this little flat back hex acrylic tank that I kind of turning into a barb tank. I found these barbs at a local store, took a chance and bought 6 of them, and now the same store has got some clown barbs, and I think I'm going to go buy half dozen of those and add them to the tank just for a little bit of variety. Really enjoying these barbs so far. And next to that, I've got another 30 breeder that's got a pair of flower horns in it, but they're both very aggressive fish. But the male is kind of overly aggressive, and they're wanting to spawn, but he has trouble holding back his aggression to allow the process to take place. But he hasn't killed her yet, so I'm leaving them together just to see if I can get him to successfully spawn. He works her over, but she was aggressive in her own sense, so we'll just have to wait and see. Underneath that tank, I've got a 20-some gallon tank that I house a couple of turtles, a red-eared slider and a painted turtle. That's the painted turtle in the front. They're both young. Over to this side, I have my salt tank, so that I get credits in the aquarium community because I'm keeping a salt tank. It's pretty lean on fish right now. They got a tomato clown and a lawnmower blenny, and somewhere in there is a Niger trigger. Being camera shy, I think it went back into the rocks. Next to that is another 60 cube. It's got a hodgepodge of fish in it. I've got some electric blue jack dempseys that I've grown out in here. Now they're starting to get some real size on them. I bought them 2 different times, so I've got 2 different sizes. And then there's another tie-suck flower horn lurking about in there. I have trouble picking him up there he is. And then there's some swordtails and some angelfish, and somewhere in there there's even another fish or 2. Like I say, I ran out of places and spaces for baby fish, so I threw this little 5-gallon down on the floor. I knew I didn't have very many goldfish eggs, so I just put what I had in a bucket, and when they hatched I transferred them over to this tank, and I think there's 5 or 6 little babies in there. I was having trouble focusing on them, but you can kind of see them there on the side. And last and probably least is just a turtle tub that I've got 3 or 4 turtles in. So they too aren't too interested in being seen today. They're hiding in the moss in the back, but that's pretty much what I'm down to.